In this video, we're going to talk about more methods that are part of the object class. The object class is the superclass of every class in Java. So when we write a class like the student class, we're automatically inheriting all of the methods that are part of the object class. Some of these methods are useful in their default form. For example, last time we saw that the getClass method could be used without any kind of modification in our own student class, and it would perform the function of telling us what class a particular object belonged to. Today we're going to explore the toString class, which we can use in our classes that we write as well. So toString is one of the methods that is part of the Java object class. And the purpose of the toString class or toString method is to create a string type record of an object so that we could print it out. So here's an example in our notes. Let's look at that first, and then we'll add it to our IntelliJ code. So if we're writing a program and it reads in data and creates a student object, then we know we can print out the class of that object using our getClass method. We did that last time. We can also print out the value of the object student1 by saying student1.toString and then displaying that information. Let's see what happens when we do that in our program. So again, this is not adding any code to our student type. That's exactly the way we left it last week, where we have our data fields, our constructors, our set methods, and our get methods. And in our main program now, we have where we read in the data, we create our student object, we printed out the class, and now we're adding a new print statement that says, that student1 object equals, and then we're going to say student1.toString. You can see that Java editor popped up with toString as one of the possible methods we could call. It knows that we're inheriting that from the object class. So let's try to compile and run our project. So it's going to ask me for the student's name. I'm going to say Sally Smith 4.0 and 15 credits. So it prints out information. It tells us that student1, that's the object we just created, is part of the class com.company. That was our getClass method. And now in the next line, it says student1 object equals com.company student type at, and then it has this number in here. What do you think that number represents? The number represents the memory address where that particular object stored. So when we print the result of the toString method, it tells us the data type com.company student, or in my program it was student type, and then the at symbol means it's stored at, and then it gives us the memory address. In this example, it was 4E81443. When I ran it in IntelliJ just now, I got something that started with a 2, I think. But it had that same kind of funny format where it had some letters and numbers. That's a hexadecimal number, and that's what Java uses to represent memory addresses. And so that's fine, but that's probably not all that helpful to us. Like, we probably didn't care where the object was stored. If we're trying to print information about it, we probably wanted to know the contents of the student1 object, like that it was Sally Smith, not the memory address. So in this case, if we wanted to perform in a more useful way to us, where it prints information about the contents of the object, we can override the method and create our own custom toString method so that it works the way that we want it to. Before we do that, we just realize that when we implement the toString method, it's not supposed to print beautifully formatted output that would be things you'd want to display to the end user. Any kind of pretty formatted stuff shouldn't rely on the toString method. It's just really a debugging tool for you, the coder, so that if you're writing the class and you're trying to debug a program, you can quickly display some information about it to the screen without doing a whole bunch of extra work of calling all the getter methods and doing formatting and stuff like that. So it's just supposed to be for debugging purposes, not for beautifully formatted output.